Okay, so I think we'll call the regular meeting of Township Council for the purpose of a public hearing to order. Of course, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the meeting taking place here today on the traditional territories of the Coast Salish peoples, and in particular, acknowledge our special and valued relationships with the Kétsi, Kwantlen, Maskwi, and Semi-Amu First Nations. With that, Mr. Cooner, you could start with the preamble, please.
A public hearing is a statutory requirement under Section 464 of the Local Government Act and must be held before third reading of a community plan, land use contract amendment bylaw, heritage designation bylaw, or heritage revitalization agreement bylaw. During a public hearing, council acts in a quasi-judicial role for the purpose of allowing persons who believe their interest in property is affected by a bylaw, permit, or other matter to make representations to council, either orally, by written submission, or to add comments to or elaborate upon correspondence that may have already been presented to council concerning the bylaws. It is important to note that council is not able to receive any additional information on the bylaws following the public hearing as dictated by case law. The hearing procedure involves an explanation from the Community Development Division on the purpose of the proposed bylaws and to hear from individuals regarding the bylaws. In order to ensure that all interested parties have a reasonable opportunity to be heard, speakers are requested to keep representations as brief and succinct as possible and no longer than 5 minutes in duration, excluding the time required for questions from council. Speakers will be asked to state their name, neighborhood, and city for the record. And if referring to prepared remarks, to submit copies of these to the township clerk. Decorum must be always maintained. This includes refraining from applause, booing, or heckling. To assist with large numbers of speakers, individuals must advise the township clerk and sign the speakers list prior to the commencement of the public hearing. The names on the speakers list will be read out during the hearing. Individuals who have already addressed council and wish to add further submissions will wait until the people that have not yet addressed council have had an opportunity to speak. All submissions and speaker lists are considered part of the public record. Council members should not express their views nor debate the bylaws. However, they may question speakers to clarify particular points in their submissions. Council may consider third reading or third reading and final adoption at this meeting or at its next regular meeting. Thank you.
Great, so with that, get a motion to adopt the agenda, please. Moved by Councillor Rint, seconded by Councillor Bailey. Any discussion? Seeing none, call the question on A1. That carries unanimously. Could you please mark Councillor Ferguson and Councillor Richter absent? Mr. Cooner, item B1.
Yes, Your Worship. The subject public hearing relates to an update to the Smith Neighborhood Plan. Bylaw number 5973 amends the Willoughby Community Plan by repealing and replacing the Smith Neighborhood Plan and related and consequential amendments to the land use of the Willoughby Community Plan. The plan amends the Langley Official Community Plan by providing a revised neighborhood plan for the Smith area. It amends the Willoughby Community Plan by incorporating the revised Smith Neighborhood Plan and related amendments into the Willoughby Community Plan. Proposes to provide for more residential density, mixed-use development, and park areas. Newspaper advertisements for the proposed bylaw did run in the Langley Advance Time on February 29th and March 7th of 2024, meeting the requirements under the Local Government Act. 1,734 public hearing notices for the proposed bylaw in the form of an address-specific postcard were sent to registered owners and/or occupants on February 28th, 2024, in the Smith Neighborhood Plan area, plus any surrounding properties that are within 5 properties on a roadway and within 100 meters of the plan pursuant to the Local Government Act. We have received 16 written submissions, and there are 6 individuals noted on the speakers list. The first 2 are Victoria Veneer and Gurveer Samra.
Great. Thank you. Can we get Victoria Veneer? Is she here? Oh, please come forward. Thank you again for coming here tonight. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Your Worship and members of Council. My name is Victoria Venner, and I am a consultant with McElhaney Ltd.
Victoria Venner. Okay, I'll make sure I've got that next time.
I was going to go with
Yeah,
it.
go ahead.
Speaking on behalf of the owner of 7378 and 7358 208 Street in the Smith Neighborhood Plan area, I'd like to first begin by expressing the property owner's gratitude to staff and council for their dedication and effort to update and advance the Smith Neighborhood Plan. The commitment to progress this area and to enhance the community's infrastructure and livability is noticed and very much appreciated. Under the updated draft Smith Land Use Plan, the subject properties are designated as low-density apartment, row house, townhouse, and park. The park located on the subject properties is required to be a 1-acre pocket park designated to provide space for children to play and residents to relax and enjoy lunch outside. On the north side of the future 212th Street connector, approximately 100 meters north of the subject site, the plan designates space for a much larger neighborhood park referred to as Smith Athletic Park. Smith Athletic Park is intended to be programmed for sports fields, playgrounds, and natural areas. The owner of the subject site would like to express their concern in regard to the proposed location for the 1-acre pocket park that's currently shown on their property. When the land was originally purchased, the previous Smith Neighborhood Plan was applicable and did not indicate a park on the property. While the owners understand the need for park space in the area and the dynamic and changing nature of the planning process, they are concerned about the financial viability to develop their land as the park designation was not originally accounted for. The property owners would like to work closely with the township to meet the neighborhood's needs, and they propose the following options. The first option being to shift the pocket park north onto the township-owned land. We understand that the township has ownership of lands immediately north of the subject site, including 7410 208 Street and 7438 208 Street. So this option would eliminate the financial hardship on our client while providing the neighborhood with the pocket park in the intended location. The second option is to combine the pocket park with the proposed Smith Athletic Park. As mentioned, the draft Smith Land Use Plan also requires a much larger park to be developed 100 meters north of the proposed pocket park location. Exploring options to combine Smith Athletic Park and the pocket park would fulfill the community's park needs while allowing the quadrant south of the 212th Street connector to develop much more efficiently, resulting in higher DCC and CAC contributions that can support the neighborhood in other ways. According to the descriptions in the draft plan, both the pocket park and the Smith Athletic Park are to provide natural areas and children's play areas, fulfilling similar neighborhood needs. The owners of the subject properties are very highly committed to collaborating with the township to realize the development potential for this area and would like to continue to work closely with staff and council to find a shared solution for achieving the required park space. In light of the location of Smith Athletic Park north of the 212th Street connector and the township-owned lands to the north of the subject properties, we believe that a solution can be found that will benefit the property owners, the community, and the township. We appreciate the opportunity to share our thoughts and suggestions and look forward to further conversations on this.
Great, thank you. Next speaker, Gurveer Samra. Please come forward.
Hello, Your Worship and Council. My name's Gurveer Samra of TM Crest Homes, a local developer. And I would like staff to clarify if FSR figures on the plan, are they based off the gross land areas of the noted properties or net area, like after road and sidewalk dedications typical of development proposals? And that's all. Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. Next speaker, I don't want to get this wrong. Mahabhir Kandala. Please come forward. Did I get that wrong?
I'll just try
Yeah.
pronouncing it myself. Mahabir Kondola.
Okay, we'll try that again. We'll try to remember to come back to that. Stepped out of the room for a moment. Andrew Baker, please come forward. Great, thank you for coming. Please go ahead.
Thank you for allowing me to speak, Mayor and Council. My name is Andrew Baker with Applin Martin. We're representing two clients that have land in this area. First property is Ivan Wang, 20731 72nd Avenue. And the second property is Raj Bath and Company. And they own 6 properties at 206 A Street and 74B A Avenue. Both properties, or groupings of properties, are in this special study area. And although we appreciate that there's been some movement with the Smith neighborhood plan, both clients have bought the properties with the intention of being able to develop them and are keen to move forward. 20731 72nd Avenue, they've submitted an application under the existing NP. And the other client is in the throes of putting their application in for their properties as it exists under their current plan. So their concern is really that there doesn't seem to be any information about the timing of the special study area. So they're keen to see that things are happening, but they're worried about the timing. They both would like to move forward with applications, and that's why they put their applications in, just trying to indicate to Mayor and Council that they are keen to move ahead with this area, and are hoping that there can be some resolution of detention ponds and school sites and densities and things in this special study area. So I didn't want to take a lot of your time, but that's the most important thing for them is timing. They bought the properties quite a while ago and sitting on them waiting for things to happen, and they're really keen to get on with these projects.
And can I just clarify for your submission a couple things? What's your role with McElhaney?
Applin Martin.
Sorry, Applin Martin. I
am a
confused.
senior project manager in the planning department.
Okay. And do you have any, you did touch on the challenges with the special study area being prerequisites for development.
Yes.
Is there any clarifications you can make about that, since applications can't move forward anyway?
We don't have any clarification on it, but by putting in an application, we're hoping that we can then rally more of the people in this area that own land to start coming forward and trying to work out these solutions that are needed to move the area ahead.
And for one other question, Councillor Pratt. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for your presentation. You spoke about 20731 having an application in.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know when abouts that was submitted and approximately what uses were in that application?
We put an application in. It went in probably last week. I think
okay.
it went in on Friday or Thursday or something. And we've reflected what's in the current NCP for lack of anything else. And we put an application for zoning and subdivision just to get the process underway.
Awesome. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great. Next speaker, Raj Bath. Please come forward.
Worship, members of council,
Please go ahead. Thanks.
Raj Bath, echoing really the sentiments of Mr. Baker. He spoke to many of the points that I was going to make, but essentially just here to get an idea of the timeline on the special study permit.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Next speaker, Alan Cram.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Alan Cram. I've lived in Langley for 35 years in the Willoughby area. I'm here to discuss 3 topics regarding the amended Smith NCP. First, I'd like to go over the pocket park that's located.
You don't need to lean into the mic or anything.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm seeing that. The pocket park, just the southern portion there, referencing 20796, I believe it is. It's a 1 acre pocket park, and it's sort of positioned smack into our site. So I own the property to the east, and I've been talking to the owner to the property to the west, and we've got a request that if we can maybe slide that pocket park to the southern parts of our properties, so it's facing 72nd, it would allow us to have a more feasible site, it would become a little more, it'd provide more yield and more livable units. We understand that there could be a potential church that's going to be situated at the corner of next to our site there. It would provide a more serene and a nice setback for them on the east of it. And by pushing the park to the south near 72nd, it would allow the residents near Milner community to have access directly to the park. It would also serve the potential development that may take place down on 210th and 72nd to have access to this park. Would you like to ask any questions regarding this at this moment?
There's no questions from council, so.
None?
No,
Okay.
thank you for your submission.
Okay.
Do you have anything else?
Yeah.
Okay, please
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah. Our second concern is regarding the commercial portion on the back of our lands. Our lands are located from 76 to the 212th connector and 208th to 208A, with the exception of the very top northern piece. The reality is this commercial that's been placed there is become very problematic for us. It's we understand that it was placed there to have its uses in front of the soccer campus. However, I think it's in everyone's best interest to consider other options. The reality is most developers decide to keep their portion of commercial in a mixed-use site. One can even attest that some would not even want the residential portion of a mixed-use site. We all know that commercial land is and has always been desired designation to retain. Does it raise a question as to why we're asking to have it removed? What I can share with you is this. We've consulted 3 prominent developers in this area that specialize in this market, and all stated that none of them would consider this project without serious concessions. The comments were based on logic, economic, and urban planning. The concerns. One is a location. You'll have all this commercial fronting off the path of a commuter road. Second is the amount. You'll have a bit short of 1,000 feet of storefront commercial, close to the size of 3 football fields in length. Topography. These commercial units will be staring at a field, which basically is not really used during the day from 9 to 5. The cost. Most of these mixed-use sites add an additional $20 a square foot. If you were to take a single building on that site in an average of 100,000 billable square feet, you're adding $2 million to the cost. Add that per door on 100 doors, you're adding, the math is there. Financial. You would not be able to recoup this cost as these spaces would have to be heavily discounted because of the location for leases. Parking. These occupants could not just basically rely on street parking. We'd have to create parking spaces from within the site, which would take away from livable units. It is imperative that we give this site proper consideration to see it succeed. To be clear, we understand your thoughts, and on paper this does look good. However, the research indicates that it will not prove out financially. We would like to propose 1 to 2 suggestions. To remove the mixed site component, being the commercial portion of it, and return it back to its 2.4 FSR residential. Or 2, keeping the suggested mixed-use site as is, but providing the proponent to decide if it's either viable or not after we do some more feasibility on it. At the end, if it's viable, we would keep it, but if it's not, then obviously we wouldn't. Lastly, the CACs for this area. Although we understand why they're there, and we actually applaud that they are there, we would request to have staff possibly look at them again and see if there's something a little more reasonable that they can provide. With all the added fees recently and building codes that have changed, the development landscape has changed, and I'm sure you guys have all heard this over the last little while. In closing, I'd like to thank you all for this opportunity and what you guys have done for this community. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Unfortunately, now is not the time we can have a debate. We're here to receive the submission, and definitely going to take your comments to heart. If there don't see any other questions from council, appreciate your submission. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there any other submissions from the public? Well, maybe Mr. Cooner will go back to see if we can see if Mahabir Kandala is here. No? Okay, so then we'll take, is there any other submissions from the public on item B1? And for a second time, were there any other submissions from the public on item B1? And then for a third and final time, are there any other submissions from the public on item B1? Seeing none, with that, we'll close the public hearing for item P1. Get a motion to terminate. Does anybody wish to move third and final reading? No, seeing no one interested in that, get a motion to terminate. Moved by Councillor Rint, seconded by Councillor Bailey. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. This will be considered again at the next council meeting on March 25th.